For what purpose does the gentleman from Arkansas seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 43.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 43, a bill to amend the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act to provide that village corporations shall not be required to convey land and trust to the state of Alaska for the establishment of municipal corporations and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Westerman, and the gentlewoman from Arizona, Ms. Ansari, will each control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas.
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and to add extraneous material on H.R. 43, the bill now under consideration.
Without objection.
I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
H.R. 43, the Alaska Native Village Municipal Lands Restoration Act of 2025, would amend the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, or ANCSA, to return lands back to Alaska Native Village corporations that are currently held in trust by the state of Alaska for future municipalities. ANCSA was enacted to settle Aboriginal land claims of Alaska Natives, and in doing so, Alaska Native corporations were created to receive land and disperse payments to Alaska Natives. ANCSA required Alaska Native village corporations that received land to convey some land to an existing municipality. If no municipality existed, the land was conveyed to the state of Alaska to be held in trust for a future municipality. Over the past 53 years, only 8 village corporations have seen a municipality created, with the most recent municipality created in 1995. This leaves 11,500 acres throughout 83 villages unable to be developed because it must be held in trust by Alaska in perpetuity for the unlikely creation of a municipality. H.R. 43 would end this requirement for village corporations to reconvey lands for a potential municipality and return land already conveyed under this provision to village corporations. If returned, village corporations anticipate developing this land for housing, community buildings, and other economic development projects. There is widespread support for H.R. 43 within the state of Alaska. The Alaska State Senate unanimously passed Senate Resolution number 13 on May 9, 2024, which encouraged the enactment of federal legislation to return the conveyed lands to Alaska Native village corporations. Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy is also supportive of the legislative fix that H.R. 43 would provide. Again, I want to thank the sponsor of this legislation, Mr. Begich, for his work to introduce this bill on the first day of the 119th Congress so that we could bring it to the floor quickly. I appreciate his diligence and swift work on behalf of Alaska, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Arizona is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of Representative Begich's H.R. 43, the Alaska Native Village Municipal Lands Restoration Act of 2025. Under current law, when an Alaska Native Village corporation receives land pursuant to the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, then the village corporation must convey certain lands to its municipal government. If none exist, then the law requires them to convey the land to the state of Alaska to be held in trust for when a municipality is established in the future. The problem is that in many remote Alaska Native communities, it is unlikely that a municipal government will ever be formed, which means the land being held in trust won't ever be used for its intended purpose. In fact, since the passage of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act in 1971, 101 village corporations have had lands held in trust by the state, but only 8 of those villages have incorporated into a municipality, and none have done so since 1995. This bill would remove the requirement that Alaska Native village corporations convey land in trust to the state of Alaska for the hypothetical establishment of municipal corporations, and it would allow village corporations to have the state of Alaska reconvey such lands back to them. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, which will allow communities themselves to make decisions about how best to utilize their own lands. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Alaska, the lead sponsor of the bill, Mr. Begich.
Gentleman from Alaska is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 43, the Alaska Native Village Municipal Lands Restoration Act. This bill corrects a decades-old oversight in the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act to ensure Alaska Native communities can fully use their own land. In 1971, ANCSA granted fee-simple land ownership to Alaska Natives, resolving historic land claims and enabling statehood land entitlements. However, Section 14C3 required Native village corporations to transfer land to the state of Alaska to be held in trust for future municipalities. More than 50 years later, only 8 of 101 affected villages have incorporated, leaving 11,500 acres and 83 villages frozen in bureaucratic limbo. H.R. 43 eliminates this outdated requirement and returns these lands to village corporations, allowing for housing, economic development, and community expansion. This bill restores self-determination, ensuring Alaska Natives, not government bureaucracy, decide how to use their own land. This legislation has broad support, as was mentioned, including from the Alaska governor and state legislature, and was unanimously passed by the Senate in the last Congress. I urge my colleagues to support this common sense fix and allow these lands to be used by their owners to support their own communities. And I yield back.
Speaker, I have no further requests for time. I'm prepared to close and reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Arizona is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support the legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Madam Speaker, again, this legislation would amend ANCSA to return the land in question to impacted Alaska Native village corporations and eliminate the unnecessary land conveyance requirements in statute. I want to thank Mr. Begich for his leadership in working on this important issue for his constituents in Alaska. I urge adoption of H.R. 43 and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 43? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is... For what purpose does the gentleman from Arkansas seek recognition?
I request the yeas and the nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.